I was a really tight size 10, which probably should have been moved up to a 12, but I was trying not to. And I'm down to about a 4 now. I was on two blood pressure medications prior. Instead of 75 milligrams twice a day, I'm down to 25 milligrams twice a day. I was definitely feeling defeated, and I was starting to get a little scared that I didn't have a lot of time left on this earth if I didn't, find a way to fix it.
Hey everybody. So today we have Warrior Babe Amy. Amy used to rely on cutting calories, ramping up cardio so that she could stay in shape. But when menopause hit and nothing was working the way that it used to, from joint pain, inflammation, and exhaustion, all of that took over, and her usual approach weren't getting her the results that she was hoping for. Then she found Warrior Babe. And now, which she's going to share so many of her successes with us here today, she's lost over 40 pounds, she's reduced her menopause symptoms, and she feels stronger than ever. And she's proof that you don't have to settle. You can take control of your health at any stage of life. Today, let's dive into her story. Amy, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And can you just let the listeners know where you are in the world? Where are you from? How old you are? And what do you do for work?
So I am in Rochester, New York, beautiful snowy Rochester, New York right now. I work at one of the local university hospitals, and I am in medical research. Mostly desk job, but I am up and around, moving around the hospital quite a bit. So probably 50-50 mix of desk and moving around. And I'm 54 years old. I'll be 54 next week, so I'm going to round up.
Oh, happy early birthday.
Thank you.
All right, so let's dive into it. Can you let everybody know what was your health and fitness like before you joined Warrior Babe?
About a year ago now, I was obviously heavier. I was struggling with menopause symptoms. I was coming off of, I had a knee injury, and I was just having a lot of joint problems. So the more I tried moving around, the more I was hurting. And I just was kind of starting to feel like, I guess this is it. You get old, and that's why people stop moving, because you can't move anymore. And part of me was kind of just feeling like you just have to eventually just succumb to it. And the other part of me was like, but no, other people can move. There's got to be a way to like stop feeling like this. So that's kind of the weird struggle that I was in right
Beforehand,
before I found
you
Warrior.
didn't want to accept that that was your way forward, which I love that mentality. How did those symptoms, how did menopause, how did joint pain, you mentioned too, you had high blood pressure when I was reading through your story beforehand. How did those things affect your daily life?
I've had high blood pressure since I was 29 years old. I just have
Oh,
an
wow.
awful family history of a lot of early heart disease and that type of thing. So I was used to dealing with the blood pressure, though in recent years it definitely was becoming more of something I was more noticing, because it's kind of always deemed the silent killer,
Mm.
because you don't usually have a lot of symptoms, but I was definitely having more symptoms of palpitations and getting a little more short of breath, moving around. I don't know if that was just the weight or the blood pressure or the combination of the two. Um, and cholesterol. My doctors already had me on an injectable medication, so the statins weren't working anymore. And the numbers still weren't coming down the way they really wanted to, but I wasn't able to work out because my knees and my joints hurt. So
Mm.
I was kind of in this you know, caught negative cycle that was just not helping. And my doctor finally kind of sat down with me and was like, "Listen, if this is an expensive medication, and insurance isn't going to keep paying for it if you have one more dose up that we can go to, and then that's it. You're maxed out,
Oh, wow.
and um, and then they're going to take it away if it's not working." And I was like, "Oh, geez, I can't, just basically give up, So that's where I was kind of trying to struggle with. I got to find something that's going to help me, you know, get this menopause under control, get the joint pain under the control, and get me moving again, so that way my numbers can get in line, and I can live.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So that was pretty much like this. Like, would you say that that was a specific moment or experience that you remember that made you realize like something has to change, or was there a
Yeah,
different
that
one?
was that was one of my defining, like, all right, enough is enough. I got to do something. And I was spending a lot of time online, like looking at, like, do I need like a nutritionist, or like, what do I need? And for as much as it sucks that your privacy isn't really respected online,
Hmm.
I think because I was searching so much of that in my Facebook feeds, I started getting a lot of ads for different workout programs, and Warrior Babe was one of them. So I checked him out.
Oh, hey, so glad you did. Before we dive into what that Facebook ad spoke to you and maybe what it was specifically that made you dive into being more intrigued to what Warrior Babe had to offer, how did dealing with those struggles that you just mentioned, like how did that make you feel physically and mentally?
I was feeling defeated, for sure. I did not like having the extra weight. I've usually been pretty active prior, with I used to do CrossFit, and I used to do a lot of other things, so I was used to being able to move around until I got that injury. And then I was doing running, and running didn't work for me because I tried training up for a half marathon and gave myself double Achilles tendinitis.
Oh
So
no.
that wasn't fun either. So I just always everything, it's like, why does it always have to hurt?
Oh.
So I was definitely feeling defeated, and I was starting to get a little scared that I didn't have a lot of time left on this earth if I didn't find a way to fix it.
Oh, you mentioned too when I was reading what you were writing about your story that you were sore for days after workouts too as well.
Oh,
Wow.
days.
Yeah, how did that impact like how you were like your motivation to like continue to want to even
Well,
show up?
through like CrossFit and stuff, I just kept going. So I would go to the gym whether I was sore or not. And I mean, it probably wasn't great for my body, but I did it, because I felt like, exercise was important and it needed to be done. And, apparently that's just how everybody is. Maybe it just hurts and you just have to get used to hurting all the time. And then I'm finding out from people, they're like, no, you shouldn't be constantly sore. What are you doing? And I'm like, oh, well, but that's how my body always is. My joints always hurt. My muscles always hurt.
Mm.
And but I don't know. Apparently, that is not how it really has to be, because that's not how I've been living now.
For the last almost year, Warrior Babe?
Yeah, yeah. I think I've probably had like maybe 2 or 3 days where I kind of was like, oh, I probably overdid it a little bit on that last one.
Oh
But
wow.
otherwise, you know, nothing like where I'm creeping up the stairs because it hurts to lift my legs, or to go from sitting to standing is, crushing my soul.
Yeah. Where was your, can you let us know like what your nutrition looked like prior to Warrior Babe?
So it was probably not good. When I was running and doing a lot of running, I was always like hovering around 1,200 calories or so.
Mm.
And that was not macro based. I didn't know about macros when I was doing the running. CrossFit, they got more into macros, so they had me in at I think 1585 was my target macros. Um, and I think I was just like 30, 30, 40 or something across the board. I felt like I had more energy that way, actually following with macros rather than just kind of freewheeling with my 1,200 calories. But other than that, nobody was really paying attention to like what I was eating, like whether it was coming from potato chips or if it was coming from a healthy source. So those were all things I kind of had to learn as I went along. That not all carbs are good carbs, not all fats are good fats, not all proteins are good proteins. So
Right.
there was definitely a lot of learning that has had to happen between then and now, for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. I've heard so many women speak to the lower calories prior to Warrior Babe, the 900, the 1100, 1200. And I'm just, sometimes it's different stories all around. So I'm just curious, why 1200 for you?
Because I looked online and it said it was unsafe to go below 1200.
Okay.
I was like, all right, I'll hit that bottom line without going too far.
Okay, okay. I get that. I understand that. It's that's and so conflict. It's like everything is on the internet could say do this, do one thing, to try that thing. 1200 is what works.
Hmm.
Um, were you tracking at this time? Like, how are you paying attention to you hitting 1200 calories?
My fitness pal, so I was tracking, but just not really using the macros, you know. At that point, no macros. And even when I was using the macros, again, not really understanding and appreciating that, like the carbs from a sweet potato are much better than the carbs from some cookies.
Right, right. Right, yeah, it's so eye-opening, right? It's like, oh
Yeah, yeah.
wow, this actually means that. I know. When you were eating the 1200 calories in terms of the results that you were seeing. So you mentioned you lost like 10, 15 pounds.
Mhm.
Was it the type of results that you were hoping to see? Because you mentioned you were skinny, but like, what were the results that you were hoping to achieve?
So I was hoping to get down in weight and then be able to keep that and then just be able to live my life and just be thin
Hmm.
and be healthy and have my cholesterol down and all that good stuff. But it just wasn't sustainable. I'd be able to get down to like maybe like where I was able to like get down to like a size 8 and I was all excited that I was out of double digits and then it wasn't sustainable because eventually you started getting hungry and you couldn't just live on 1200 calories and running like 5 miles a day because you get hungry.
Yeah, yeah. You find yourself snacking at the end of the day when it finally got to that point where you're like, I'm hungry, I need to eat more.
Yeah, so I'd hit a weight, some whatever goal weight it was, maybe like 145, and then I'd be all excited, but that would like literally last a couple days, and
Hmm.
then I'd be back up to like 150, and then I'd hover like 150, 155, and then slowly it would start creeping back up again. So it never was like I'd have to really stay in that exactly 1200 calories and do all the running in order to get down to that like 145, and then I couldn't maintain it. So it would go right back up and then more so, so then now I'm like, here I was hovering like 165, and now all of a sudden I'm hovering 175 and I'm like, "Oh my God, why won't this just stay off?"
Right? And how long was that cycle? Like, if you don't mind me asking, how many years did you do that for?
So that was going on prior to the pandemic, and then the pandemic hit, and so then all of even the trying went out the window. So then I just embraced my inner chubby self and just learned how to bake bread and enjoyed the ride.
Learn how to bake bread. I love that you threw that in there.
Oh, I was baking bread like a champ, let me tell you.
So let's take me back here when you were struggling with the ways that you were like feeling like defeated, or the ways that you were feeling when you thought that this is just the way I'm gonna have to feel, or even what you said, embracing my chubby self during COVID. Were those types of struggles were like, how do they impact any relationships or work, or like in your day to day, like how were your energy levels through that time?
My energy levels were mixed. I think it probably depended on whether or not I was locked into my 1200 calorie day or if I was letting my day just kind of, you know what, today's going to be a break day.
Oh,
Um,
wait, let me unpack that for a second. How consistent were you with the 1200 calories?
what was that?
How consistent were you with the 1200 calories?
When I got myself into a goal where I have to hit a weight and I want to hit it by a certain, I would be consistent. I was just in 1200 calories. But then after that, once I hit that goal, it was kind of like,
Mm.
I'll let this day slide. Or during like one of my like heavy pushes, if it was like a birthday that would pop up in between, I'd give myself a cheat day. So, and
Mm.
for the most part, I'd be consistent, but if there was a reason to not be, I gave myself that.
So we'll circle back to the question I asked you a second ago, because I'm more interested to hear what your take is on why was accomplishing a weight number so important to you?
I don't know. I
Hmm.
think it was just, I thought that if I could get down to this certain number, it would mean that I was healthier somehow.
Mm.
It doesn't make sense now, so I try to put myself back into that brain, and
I'm happy to hear it doesn't make sense now.
Yeah, now it doesn't make sense. But
That's good. You've
before, I'm
rewired your
like,
brain.
yeah, if I could be 145, then I'll be healthy and life will be grand. Everything will just fix itself. I don't know how I achieved that or arrived at that conclusion. I don't know if it was my internet searching or what, but
Stories, marketing, the
Mark,
the
yeah,
babies
I
of
don't know.
growing up, all of what, yeah, what you were hearing, narratives, just in your brain, right?
Yeah, it's like, and now, like, so many things, like, I think back about what I was doing, and like alcohol too. So, alcohol, when you key it into my fitness pal, it takes away calories, but doesn't hit any of the macros.
Hmm.
So I'm like, oh, those are free.
You're not alone. So many women think that. You're not
Yeah,
alone.
until like one of the podcasts that I was listening to, and like you broke it down. You're like, no, you got to take it out of either your carbs or your fats, but it's got to come out of one of those macros somewhere because the fourth macro isn't tracked.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my goodness. Alrighty, well that explains some of that.
All right, let's bring it to you seeing that ad with Warrior Babe and finding Warrior Babe. What initially drew you into the program?
Well, I watched the ad, and I liked that there wasn't a lot of like scare tactics in the ad. I also like the fact that like once I started kind of deep diving, that you had a podcast and there was a lot of other things going on rather than just, hey, I'm an online fitness program, send me your money and I'll give you miracles. Um, so I listened to a lot of the podcasts. I just started from episode one and I just started going through. And I was learning all kinds of different things about menopause. There was the one that you did with Esther Bloom,
Yeah.
that I picked up a whole bunch of little nitpicky pieces out of that and ran with them. And I was like, ah, I really kind of like this program. I also like the fact that you were in nursing, so I kind of felt like you get, being at the hospital and the darn counter full of treats that are just always there.
Always
The
in the break
muffins and
room.
the bagels and the pizzas and the break room. I'm like, oh,
Wild.
she's my people. Oh,
I got you.
he understands. Like, it's all well and fine to be at home and like, trying to be good, but then you come to work and it's like there's just all this stuff, because they're just trying to feed you to keep you moving.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you are moving and it's nonstop, it sounds really good to just stick your hand in the treats that are in the break room because it's going to make you feel satiated for at least like 10 minutes while you go take care of your next patient.
Yeah, and it's
Right?
like bagels, like great, those are, that's a carb, so that'll fit. I can fit that into my fitness pal, and it's like, yeah, but it's just white bread.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. And literally no, it's spiking your blood sugar, right? And you go and so it's crazy, but yeah. Well, I'm glad that that drew you into the program.
Yes,
Um,
yeah, and then I started watching some of the. Then I went to the website and started watching some of the like testimonials and stuff like that, and like like long interviews, and so I really got a chance to see that people were really like, no, I've been doing this, and here's all my befores, and oh yeah, this was a trial, this
yes.
wasn't easy, this was I worked at it, but I got here,
Yeah.
so it wasn't quick promises, and I really liked that. And
I
it
love
felt healthier. It felt like a better fit.
I love the way that you explain that, and I'm so appreciative of the fact that that is how we come across when you are someone new looking at us on the internet, and I'm glad we're perceived that way because it's definitely how we love to operate. We're here to just serve and help people, and we want people to understand that this is the way you can do it. It isn't sexy. There's no quick fix or promise, but it will get the job done if you're willing to put in the work, and you have put in the work. And we're gonna get to your wins in a bit. But as you started out, what were your thoughts as you first started the journey?
Initially I was nervous. It's a big commitment. You sign up for the whole year, so that's like, oh God, what did I just do? What if this sucks?
Yeah,
And then,
valid, totally valid.
like, so, did I make a mistake? So like all those things are running through my head. And then I met my coach, and like as soon as I was paired up with her and I kind of like, stalked her online a little bit to like, check her out. And she was fantastic. And I was like, oh my God, they could not have put me with a better person. Like, she's my people too. So we met and just absolutely love her. And, I got my first workouts and I was worried that they were going to be like really heavy, intense, like CrossFit workouts, with, throwing a lot of weight around and, all kinds of stuff. And it was really a great, like, ease into it. A lot of stuff with like bands and just body weight type kinds of things. And she was really working with me with my knee and, trying to make sure that, because she's like, you don't do this and hurt yourself. You shouldn't hurt after you're done. Like you shouldn't have to ice your knee when you're done. If you're icing your knee when you're done, you need to talk to me and we need to fix something.
Mm.
So I just, I whittled my way through like little by little and, worked my way up in all those workouts. And yeah, it was a really nice transition from being mostly sedentary during the pandemic to working my way up to where I am now. It was a nice, smooth transition.
Were you skeptical at all about eating more and doing less intense cardio?
So I was. But at the same time, at that point, I had signed up and I had just gotten over tendinitis again, Achilles tendinitis again. So I wasn't anxious to get right back onto the treadmill because my ankles had just been hurting so much and I was just starting to get to the point where I was able to walk without like looking like I had like a limp. So I was okay with it, even though I was a little nervous about it. She also started me off because had me tracking for the first couple of weeks just to kind of see where I was at. And then I started off at 1,400 calories, and I was like, oh, wow, that's a lot to just start off with and not be running. Really? This is going to work? And she's like, just trust it. And I'm like, okay, here we go.
Why? Why did you think that? Just curious, because everyone, I love hearing the thoughts that come behind those words.
Well, because any other time, if I was doing my running and if I wasn't at 1,200 calories, I either didn't move or I gained weight.
Ah,
So I couldn't, I don't know. So now you took my cardio away and added more food, and I was like, okay, well,
so you really trusted
I
that now,
signed up
believe this later.
because what I was doing was wrong. So I gotta just trust that this is what I signed up for. So I gotta just trust it. And so I just trusted it. I just every time if a doubt crept into the back of my head, I was like, "Shut up, shut up, chubby girl, go away.
Oh,
We're heading in this way."
but that right there is you were rewiring your brain to not allow like old narratives or stories or even like maybe misconceptions about fitness or health and how much you had to eat and all doing all this cardio. You were rewriting this narrative. It hasn't been helping me. It hasn't been getting
Yeah,
me the results that I wanted, but I'm here now. I've committed to this process. I'm going to trust it now, believe us later. That's our motto: trust us now, believe us later. And
yeah,
you're like, you started to just rewrite you by you taking action, not even rewriting it yet. You were just taking action and allowing the process to work out for
yeah.
itself
Just
because
one
you were
day at a
like,
time, because you can't look at it in like a month chunk, because if you look at it in a month chunk or 2 month chunk or a 1 year chunk, it's all too much. It's too much
mm.
to, like, oh my God, you're gonna put me at 2,000 calories one day. Oh my God, no, 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 that's not happening.
Yeah, that's
Like,
like your old, yeah, yeah, that's like old self, like scared, like fear, which is totally normal and natural because you've been operating that way for so long and you were so like aware of, oh, 1,200 calories has got me here, but, and then it didn't make me lose or gain anymore, but it felt like a
mhm,
comfortable space because you did it for so long. So
yeah,
having 2,000 calories come your way,
yeah,
what,
yeah.
what was the timeline? Because we do like to start a lot of our babes out at the like in a lower calorie intake or a retrain process. From getting you to the 1,400 calories to 2,000, how long did that take?
Well, I just had a calorie bump just a couple weeks ago. So from start to now is when I got bumped up. But I was at 1,400 calories. I want to say it was probably 5 months.
Mm.
trying to just get me to the point because she was always like assessing like whether or not I was hungry, how am I feeling, blah blah blah. And I'm like, no, I'm still trying to get all of them in. So my body wasn't telling us yet that I was needing more. So she let me ride until my body said I need more. And then I was like, oh, I'm starting to get kind of hungry. Is there, is there a way I can how can I get this hunger to maybe drink soda water because that'll be more filling. So I'm trying to come around
She's
ways with
dumb.
not adding calories. And she was like, nope, I think it's time for a calorie bomb, babe.
Okay, okay. All right, cool. So I'm going to pinpoint that right there because I want to circle back to how you were feeling with your first calorie bump. But since joining Warrior Babe, let's talk about where you are now on your journey.
So now, 45 pounds later, I've been maintaining this, and I'm down to 129, which I never hit during CrossFit, during all my running, the half marathons, the eating 1,200 calories, all of that. I am back to my high school, college weight.
That gave me the chills.
I've never hit this weight as an adult ever. So
Wow.
and I've been at this weight, I've been hovering at it, I want to say at least a good month or so. Um, and I'm not and she's been bumping my calories up, and I'm just staying right there. So it's absolutely crazy to me, and my old brain would have completely short circuited just trying to even comprehend that you can have that many calories and not be literally killing yourself in the gym or out on the road running. I get my workouts done. I'm sweaty, and I've done my thing, and I've worked out, but I don't walk away around for the next 3 days not able to lift a glass off the counter because my arms are so sore. And that's how sore I used to be from CrossFit.
You're
Just I couldn't,
peeling your
going
body.
up and down the stairs was painful, and now I'm like, go up and down the stairs. Maybe a little muscle might be like, hey, you worked me out yesterday, but not limiting me to where I'm crawling up the stairs because it hurts so much.
Yeah. You're
I don't
giving
know
your
if
body
because
that nutrition it wanted for so long.
yeah, there's so much, yeah, the nutrients are just I think helping the muscles recover, whereas before they couldn't recover. They just were just getting beaten up
Exactly. You weren't giving your body
repeatedly.
enough of what it needed to help with the recovery process. This is the thing, it's so intangible. Like you can't see your muscles recovering, which a lot of people want to see their efforts. They want to see their results. They want it to be tangible. They want it to, but with this, it's all internal. Like you can't see or understand it comes with time, like it's happening in the moment when your body gets more food, which is what you were experiencing when not feeling so sore anymore versus
Hmm.
when you weren't eating enough. You were sore because it wasn't having what it needed to help you to recover.
Hmm.
You mentioned you're down 40 pounds.
Hmm.
You What are some other top achievements that you've had?
So my top achievements, I have to say, first and foremost, is my health. I was on two blood pressure medications prior. I'm down to both at pretty well. One was a regular, just probably a moderate dose, and the other one was a little higher dose. That one, instead of 75 milligrams twice a day, I'm down to 25 milligrams twice a day, and I might be able to get that one gone at my next visit. So we're monitoring my blood pressures now, so I might be down to just one blood pressure medicine coming up. My cholesterol numbers have been fantastic. The cardiologist he's thrilled. There's no longer a worry that insurance companies will take my medicine away. I don't think that medicine will ever go away just because of the heart history that I have in my family, but that's fine. I'm fine with taking my cholesterol meds to keep my arteries open and flowing. But all of my numbers are fantastic. So that is probably my biggest and the biggest driver that was one of my priorities.
Yeah, that was what you
Yeah.
said at the beginning was one of the major things that made you realize you had to make a change.
Yep. So, and then along with that, under the health net, is I don't hurt anymore. So I can't even like just having, I don't know if it's because of the nutrition or because now my hormones are a little more like adjusted and I'm eating to fuel, this body, not a 20-year-old body, and the hormone support that I need now. And but I don't have the joint aches, so I'm not like after a workout, I'm no longer laying in bed with my hips just throbbing and aching and my elbows hurting, and I was going through a lot of that when I first started because I still had so much inflammation or whatever was going on in my body that initially my first workouts even through WarriorBabe, I was just my joints hurt, from just the effort of it all.
Hmm.
Or laying in bed later, it's like I could tell that I did all that, but now I go through all my workouts and my joints don't hurt anymore and I just feel great. I get up in the morning, I have energy, I'm sleeping, so all of that I chunk into just health. um,
Yes.
and then my other like big goal or big achievement is I surpassed what I wanted for like a numbers on the scale, which again now I understand that numbers on the scale don't mean what you think they mean. But it's like it's a great thing that I'm in like all new clothes, all new sizes. It's been an expensive journey because all new clothes in multiple sizes as I was going down, but I'm thrilled. I'm just absolutely thrilled with my
Can you
results.
share the number of pant size? You went from what to what?
I was a really tight size 10, which probably should have been moved up to a 12, but I was trying not to. And I'm down to about a 4 now.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I'm 6'4", depending on what brand um, I try on.
That's amazing. You should be so proud of all those achievements.
Yeah, I'm completely thrilled.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's shocking to me. But of course, now I have pants in size 10, size 8, size 6.
Well, let's keep them where they are now.
So
Or
we
maybe
should
if you ever
probably
go
set
into
up
like a
like
building phase.
a little clothing exchange or something.
You mentioned too in one of your achievements that was written in the form that I was reading that I wanted to highlight here a little bit because I know there's a lot of women that are going through this. But you mentioned that menopause symptoms were significantly reduced. Can you talk a little bit to that?
Yeah, so along with joining Warrior Babe, because of that podcast that I listened to where you were talking with Esther Bloom,
Hmm.
she had mentioned talking to a functional medicine doctor.
Hmm.
So I also scheduled, so I not only signed up for Warrior Babe all in the same week, I found a functional medicine doctor and made an appointment with them and went down and got an in-body scan because I wanted to see kind of where I was starting. So I'm like, here's my starting point. But so I signed up with a functional health medicine doc, and so she reviewed all of, like, did a whole bunch of blood work. We had, several conversations and things, and she made some suggestions. A lot of it was diet changing and stuff like that she was able to then also kind of support what my coach was telling me about, needing nutrition and that, a bagel isn't the same as a sweet potato when you're looking at carbs, so like she kind of like talked to me about some of that. I did talk to GYN and got a hormone patch. And since then, like all of my the numbers on my most recent blood work for my hormones and stuff like that are a little more stabilized. I'm no longer like crazy high on one thing and down in the basement on another. So
Wow.
things are like leveled off for, being appropriate for my age, but at least not crazy, and out of kilter. But because that's all now adjusted, I'm sleeping better. I have all the energy again. I'm sure that that probably played a part in some of that joint aching too, because I feel like some of that was, I don't know, probably, blood levels and stuff being off kilter.
Absolutely.
The hot flashes are minimal now. I really don't even have them during the day. Still a little bit of that at night, covers on, covers off, covers on, covers off.
Right.
But not as bad as it was, definitely not like waking up sweating in the middle of the night. And so I just feel more like even and more calm, and just I'm not feeling as edgy. I feel like that's menopausey too, just kind of being like on edge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, everything just kind of seems to like have mellowed out with having the right nutrition and asking the right questions at the doctor's office. Because if you're going to the doctor, you can go a million times, and if you don't know the right questions to ask
So important to
and,
have.
and how to get across what you're feeling, and that it's not just a feeling, that there is actually something physical happening to me.
Yes.
And if you can't get that point across, then you can't get the help that you need. And I feel like listening to those podcasts and stuff really helped me to formulate how I needed to approach going to the doctors and asking for what I needed, and getting that support that I'm like, hey, I'm doing this nutrition coaching thing with my WarriorBabe thing, and I know I'm supposed to be doing this, but I feel like there's some fine tuning that needs to happen here, and so they were willing to work with me, and I
That's
really
huge.
think that all helped, by having all of those pieces um,
That's
playing together.
huge. That's huge. That's incredible. With all that you've accomplished and the results that you've had, and even like the what you just shared there in terms of feeling way more confident with the conversations you were having with doctors to make sure that you were on the right path. Did you accomplish all of this? Like, are you going through menopause right now, or are you post med? Like, are you in it or are you post?
Well, so I had a hysterectomy, so I'm not really sure 100% when menopause officially started. The blood values when I went at that baseline one, they said I was officially menopaused. So they were like, "Oh yeah, you have no estrogen happening at
That's
all."
even more incredible that you reduced body fat, that you dropped dress sizes, that you had all of those health pillars corrected while going through menopause.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
like what a lot of people were like, oh, this is just like what I have to accept now. I'm gaining weight. I'm
And
tired.
that's what I thought. Yeah, that
Wow.
once you don't have, because I, when with the hysterectomy, they took one ovary too, because I had endometriosis. So they had
Mm.
to take out whatever was all wrapped up in the endometriosis. So I only had one ovary. So they told me then that they were like, if, you're probably going to go into menopause a lot earlier because you only got half of, the equipment that you should have in order to generate the hormones that you need. So yeah, I was definitely in menopause by the time I went to that functional medicine doc, and they did all those numbers, ran all those blood
Wow.
tests.
Well, I'm thinking how full circle this has been for you from having the thoughts of like, oh, this medicine at the beginning of my journey, like, and having high blood pressure and having like all of these symptoms, to you seeking out, okay, I need to work out, I need to find a program that I can do, to full circle, you've reduced your health. Like, there's areas of your health that have improved so much, no longer needing certain medications. If you had never made a change, have you ever thought about this? If you never made a change, where do you think that you'd be today? And how does that make you feel?
It's well, geez, it's kind of scary.
Yeah, I was thinking about, I'm like, holy cow, if she didn't make any of these changes, what would have happened?
I'd probably be still struggling. I may have just finally just given up and on because I was trying to avoid surgery on my knee, because I feel like once I start cutting into you, it's just never quite the same.
I agree. I agree with that.
So I was really trying to put off, not needing the knee surgery, and I probably would have just gone and done it, because at that point, you know, in order to walk, in order to feel comfortable walking, I would have needed to do something. And then that would have been an awful healing process, because I wouldn't have needed a full knee. It's the back of my patella that is like, so it's femoral patellar or patellofemoral. I can never remember which one goes first. But that is where the arthritis is. So it's not on the weight bearing joint. It's, when you're bending your knee.
Mm.
And I guess the only surgeries that they were offering me, a lot of them involve cutting tendons, and so they take forever to heal. And then all the physical therapy, she was telling me it would be like 6 to 9 months of physical therapy afterwards. And I was like, oh my God.
That's a long
Like, I
time.
don't want to do physical therapy for 6 to 9 months. I'm like, there's got to be something else I can do instead of physical therapy for 6 to 9
Yeah,
months.
that's a long time.
So, yeah, I really don't really kind of want to think about where, because I feel like, would that heart attack have been a little closer around the corner, if I hadn't done something? And I feel like the answer is yes. How close around the corner, I don't know, but um, yeah, I definitely was not feeling well at the time. So, and now, and those numbers were not good. They weren't suggesting that I had lots of years to not worry about it. So I'm just glad that I found, a program that I knew that was going to work for me, that, resonated with me, and that to me felt like the healthiest way to go about things, and, offered so much more support with like your podcasts and everything. I keep going back to the podcast because let me tell you, they were like my go-to
Yay.
for a long time, where I was just, like absorbing everything that, all of your, guests that you had coming in. You had a lot of people that, know a lot of stuff,
Yeah,
more than I know.
you
And,
do.
I was willing to take all of that and, because clearly what I was doing wasn't working, and, I needed to listen to some other people. And, I think this was, definitely the best choice I ever could have made for myself.
I'm so happy that you trusted on us at the beginning and you were just like, I'm committed, I'm going to show up, I want to do the work. That goes a long way, and I thank you so much for doing that, because you could have chose to not trust, and you could have chose to, oh, but this worked, or 1200 calories is where I felt comfortable. Like
Mhm.
you should give yourself a lot of credit for being open and willing to accept that, well, what wasn't working before isn't working, and I need to have something that is going to work for me, because there was a lot of things that were laying on the line for you there at the beginning. So
Mhm.
you should be really proud of a
Yeah,
lot.
I absolutely am. Yeah, my
Yeah.
husband's happy for me. He's just thrilled that, I've got so much more energy. I'm able to, help him with stuff now. Like when he's like, "Hey, can you hand that, the ladder up to me in my van, whatever." I'm like, "Oh, sure." And I grab it and just, hand it up to him.
That's
Rather than
amazing.
like, my knee and my shoulder bother me right now. I can't do.
Yeah.
Let me see if somebody else is around to grab that.
That's amazing. So, for somebody that's watching this right now that is unsure about taking like that next step, or maybe there's something in their life that they're like, I need to get this fixed, but I'm just unsure what to do, what would you tell them about Warrior Babe and the impact that it could have on their life?
I think that and I feel like a big part of anybody's internal thing is that you have to kind of be at that point where you're ready to listen to somebody else. Because if you're not ready to listen, or you're not ready to track, and you're not ready to do the work, then, you know, maybe wait till you are. But because otherwise, I feel like you're just going to be fighting against yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that's going to be the same for any program. But I feel like once you're ready and you know that like I've got to do something, and something's got to give, and I need help. This is absolutely the place that I would suggest you turn. I've been recommending to all kinds. Actually, another friend of mine joined
Oh, no
because they're
way.
seeing my results, and it's just so comprehensive, and the support you get is not just, like, here's an exercise program, go on your way. It's not that. It's weekly checking in. I got a coach that I can talk to daily if I need to. Like, there's so much support, and all of the calls too. I didn't realize how much I kind of also needed a little bit of that mental piece, which I feel like a lot of this it is mental, like
Mm-hmm.
being willing to like push past, comfort barriers, or get past like, old mindsets, and get past a lot of, negative self-talk. And I didn't realize how much value there would be in those calls until I started sitting in on those calls. because at first, when I first signed up for the program, I was kind of like thinking to myself, well, I just really need the nutrition and the exercise, and can I just like take some of this extra fluff out and like maybe pay less or something? Like, how can we do something like
Well, you're
that?
not alone there. Everyone just wants the nutrition and workout side.
And it actually really is kind of needs to be like one whole like cohesive thing, because without having your mindset adjusted to like what you really need to be doing and what's right for you, you won't really stick to the workouts and the nutrition, or you won't understand why you got to track it and why your coach needs to really see what you're eating. And so I really I recommend, but like I said, it's work. You gotta go in and you gotta log in all your foods. You gotta do the workouts. Just because you have the workouts in your program doesn't mean that you're just gonna lose weight because you have them. You
Yeah,
gotta actually do them.
exactly. The
Yeah,
program and the app and the nutrition and the coach calls, like if you are just listening and not doing, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to listen and do.
yeah,
I appreciate
yeah.
you highlighting that. And I appreciate you highlighting the mindset aspects of it as well, because someone that may sign up and doesn't take action, it needs to hear the mindset side of things, because they need to understand like execution is the most important aspect to it. And it's not just about nutrition and workouts. I mean, it can be to somebody who has a great mindset,
Yeah.
but we all struggle in ways, and we're not perfect, and we all like have these stories or limiting thoughts or what X, Y, and Z of what I heard my mom say when I was younger, and it carries me through and it affects my health and fitness. We all have that. So, and that's
Especially as you start heading into menopause and your body's changing regardless, and so you can't help but kind of remember how things used to be, how, well,
yeah.
geez, I used to be able to eat and it used to just, the weight would just come right back off, or, just regular body changes, like, I'm getting older, I don't like how the skin is doing this weird thing, and so you start kind of like just, like feeling not necessarily bad about yourself, but less good.
It's a great way of reframing it. I mean, you do. You start to feel defeated. You start to feel like, oh, then this is just the way it has to be. Or yeah, you kind of do feel not bad about it, like, or not good.
Yeah.
Um, but no, but
And so those mindset things really do help. They
yeah,
really do
totally.
kind of help to make you understand that, yeah, this is important. And like those, or this, like, oh, all right, I'm struggling with this because everybody struggles with it. Or, like little pieces, like helpful tips on, like maybe you're struggling with like My Fitness Pal and like, I can't ever enter this. And then you listen to a little, a coach call where they're like, hey, here's some tips and tricks. And you're like, oh my God, this is so much helpful.
Yeah,
What I was
exactly.
struggling
We,
to do before. So
yeah.
like all of those little bits, even if you don't think you need a mindset thing, it's like just having like little tips on how to, you know, handle your workouts a little bit better, or
Totally.
struggling with time management or whatever. Those they're all like helpful little tips that
You're not alone in this journey for sure.
yeah. Oh, absolutely. No, there's like 400 people on these calls every day. Or
Yeah, I
every
know.
day. I
It's
mean,
super
you're definitely
cool.
not alone.
It's super cool. Well, Amy, I thank you so much for spending time with me today and sharing your story. And everyone that's listening, her story proves that you don't have to accept being exhausted or, go through life feeling like you have joint pain over and over and over again every single day you wake up, or the weight gain. You don't have to accept that's just part of getting older. By focusing on what Amy's body needed, she transformed her health. She took action. She transformed her entire future. From you went, I wouldn't say full circle. You fixed what was you were experiencing in the beginning and had a totally different outcome at the end. So if anybody's listening to this right now and you guys are feeling stuck, just know that there is a better way. The answer is that you can absolutely 100% do it. And I would say take the first step, check out warriorbabe.com. But Amy, thank you so much for being here and sharing that story. I know it's going to inspire one person at least to make a
Oh,
change.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me again.
Thank you so much again.
Okay, thank you.